Hello, everyone, and welcome to the House of Reels podcast. We are your hosts. My name is Shawn.
My name is Alex.
And my name is Adrian. Here at the House of Reels, we're going to be over here talking about movies, pop culture, entertainment, all that nice good stuff that's going on around the entertainment field of the world.
All right.
And so, for today's topic, for the House of Reels, we're going to be looking at a particular character. He's kind of popular. Um,
A little bit, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
coming right out of the shadows. Let's just talk about him. We're going to talk about Batman. So, before we get into Batman, how did you guys get introduced to Batman, or if you guys are into him, how did you guys get into him?
Sean.
You gonna go first, or you want me to go
Oh
first?
no, you man. You go first.
Okay. So I was a big Lego fan back in the day. So I used to play like Lego Star Wars and Lego Batman, like all the Lego games, man. So I don't know if it was then or if I just watched like the older films. I don't know. My dad's like a huge Batman fan, so like he kind of infected me with it. So
He passed it down
um,
to you.
exactly. So I can't like pinpoint it, but that's like a kind of general analysis of how I was, introduced to it. So,
Yeah.
Alex.
For me, man, it was I don't know if you guys remember I don't remember if it was like on CW or something like that. One of those old kids channels from back in the day. It was Batman Beyond, bro. It was
WB,
Batman.
the
Yeah,
WB.
WB, there you go.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
there we go.
Yeah,
I was
WB.
there.
Batman Beyond, bro. I would watch Batman Beyond and the whole aesthetic, and I was like, man, this is so cool. So then I dug deeper. Then I went back to the animated series and obviously Justice League Unlimited, all that stuff. So yeah, man, from Batman Beyond, bro, that's my
Yeah.
stuff. That's how I got introduced to Batman. And you, Adrian?
For me, I always was aware of Batman. I started off as a Marvel fan. I'm still a Marvel fan, but I was aware of Batman. I wasn't into Batman, and then I believe The Dark Knight came out. I didn't see it, but like my family was watching it, and I'm like, bro, this Joker character, he's pretty cool. And I kind of just kept going and going, and what really got me, this was like the end all be all, was the video game Batman Arkham City.
Mm.
It was coming out.
Mhm.
That was just a massive game, not just as a Batman game, as a video game. That opened my eyes. I was like, Batman is so much cooler than I thought. All these characters are
Oh, yeah.
so interesting. Like, oh my gosh. So
And
yeah,
yeah, man.
definitely got me into him. Ever since, he's become my second favorite character of all time.
I think
Really?
even fans from Marvel can be like Batman.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
that's the one DC character that like everyone's like, yeah, Batman's cool. It's
Yeah.
like it's the one because he's human, you know.
Yeah.
He's human. He's cool. He's like dark and really different from a lot of other superheroes. It's just he's my. I mean, it's pretty cliche, but he's my favorite man for that reason.
Yeah.
yeah,
I understand, man.
He's
He has the
goat.
gadgets and the girls, man. He has it all.
Yeah,
So,
man.
what
Yeah,
can
who
be
doesn't
better?
want to be like Bruce Wayne? You know?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So yeah.
yeah. The character's been around for 80 years, and as you mentioned, Alex, like right now he's a vessel for grim storytelling and realism, and that factor of the human psyche, especially like mental conditions and whatnot, is particularly from his villains. But back then, he was also like a detective. He's still very much a detective character. But even further back, like the '60s with Adam West, he was a very campy character.
Yeah.
When you really look at it, like Batman's kind of become this James Bond figure where he has so much impact cinematically, so much impact on our pop culture. Where as the years go by, it's like Batman's always going to be around. He's kind of becoming mythical. He's more than just a comic book character.
Yep. I agree. 100%.
Very influential.
Definitely influential. And speaking of all that, I guess the topic at hand is in the next week. We're looking at another Batman
Mhm.
film, with our the actor being Robert Pattinson. How do you guys feel about that?
Edward Cullen, baby. Let's go.
Edward Cullen. That's the big thing everyone first thinks about. Oh no, another.
Yeah.
Like, why get the vampire actor for him? What do you guys think?
You can go first, Alex, if you want.
Yo, I don't know why. I just have like this feeling that because he's a good actor. Like, yes, he did Twilight and all that stuff, but he's been doing like a lot of more like indie movies and stuff, I guess you could say, and he's a good actor. He's really talented. Uh, but one thing he doesn't like, which may screw up not this movie but possible future movies, is his hatred for fandom. He hates fandom,
That is
like that.
true.
Yeah, he hates it, and apparently now, because of all, obviously playing Batman, there's going to be some critiques from fans, and because he's such a beloved character, probably even more so than Twilight. But yeah, he's saying apparently there's like rumors that he doesn't want to play Batman again after this, because of all the yeah, yeah.
I thought he said in the interview that he would do it again. Like he loved it. He wanted to keep going.
I've heard. I don't know when this information came out, but
Mm.
I do know that he said that he wasn't really feeling it because of the fandom. Because obviously, when you put on that Batman costume, there's gonna be haters. Okay, there's
Yeah,
gonna
that
be haters.
cow,
Of
man.
course.
It's the cowl, the cape and the cowl, and and no matter what, you're gonna have to do it justice, whatever. But uh, case in point being, I think for this movie, I don't know about future movies, but this movie, I think he's gonna do a really good job. I think he's a great actor, and this is his sort of thing, you know. So yeah, that's my take on it. I think he's gonna do great.
Yeah, you're right about definitely a lot of haters. It's every Batman's gotten his haters. Ben Affleck when he was announced, my goodness, I don't know if you guys remember that everyone was trashing him. Now he has his fans, but that just happens. What do you think, Sean? Do you think how do you feel about Battinson? As that's what I call him.
I don't know, man, because like when you think about it, Matt Reeves, even when he was casting, he kind of knew who he wanted.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where this could either be really bad or it could be really good.
Yeah.
He said that this Batman, this version of Batman, is more of like a goth character. So like,
Yes.
so that's kind of
Very
what he was
emo.
going for. Very emo. So yeah, like I think it could be good because that's kind of he's a good actor, bro. Like I'm not gonna trash him too much, but as soon as I saw it was him, like I'm not gonna lie to you, I was a little disappointed. I thought that they could use somebody new, maybe that hasn't had the spotlight, so you don't know exactly what to expect. But yeah, especially when I saw Tenet, I thought he was really good. And he's a good actor, man. So we'll see what happens with it. He seems to be pretty, like from what I've seen and the interviews that I've seen, he was pretty excited to do the role. So we'll see what happens with it. I feel like if this goes really well, I think he'll enjoy it per se. But if it's more critiqued and it isn't as well received, that he may not last long.
Yeah.
We'll see.
It's definitely the case. This movie has a long history before they settled with Pattinson. My take on it, I was skeptical at first, but I have a lot of faith in Matt Reeves. I think he knows what he's doing. I do recall from the beginning that from one of the first interviews, Robert Pattinson was saying he really loves the character and he wants to do him justice. So I don't know if those new interviews are showing, because I don't think it's not that he doesn't want to play Batman. I think he does. But based on what you're telling me, Alex, is like, yeah, Batman's fandom is ridiculously critical and toxic at times, and they could really push him away. I mean, to me, I think that he's gonna nail specifically the Bruce Wayne. When I say Bruce Wayne, not the playboy side, the emotional side of Bruce Wayne.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I was looking at Ben Affleck, I'm like, Ben Affleck will play Bruce Wayne just fine. I'm questioning is he? Sorry, hold up, next minute. He's gonna play Bruce Wayne just fine, but I was questioning if he was gonna play Batman correctly. And I think Ben Affleck, for what he was given, even though I don't think that what he was given was great, I think he played a pretty good Batman. Now with Pattinson, I see like his roles. I think he's gonna play like the emotionally disturbed, troubled Bruce Wayne, which we don't really see.
That emo Batman, baby.
Yeah, those emo Batman moments, like he's still recuperating from his parents' death even after like over a decade. He still doesn't understand what he's doing with his life, things like that. I don't see much of that Playboy Batman or Playboy Bruce Wayne. I don't see the older Batman, the more rigid, stoic Batman. I see a very emotionally disturbed Batman based on these trailers, which is exciting because this is supposed to be like his beginning years, his second year of
Mm-hmm.
Batman.
Yep.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, give the guy a chance. I think we see how it goes. I have really high hopes for this movie. Really high hopes.
Okay. Question:
Really? Yeah.
have you guys actually seen the scene at the funeral?
I have
Like, there's
not.
a whole like
No.
5 to, I think it's
Yeah,
about
it's like
5 to 8 minutes.
9 minutes. It's like nine
Yeah,
minutes.
something like that. Um, I watched it. Man, he did pretty good. It wasn't really focused on him per se, but the way it was shot was really good. I feel like this is going to be one of those intense films, in my opinion. It was definitely more of a. I know Arkham Knight doesn't have like a movie, but it feels kind of like that in terms of it's really dark
Mm-hmm.
and you feel like something could happen at any minute. So yeah, and it kind of felt like five or no, not five. What is it called? Seven for the seven deadly sins. If y'all have seen that, but yeah, it felt kind of like that. Like the city just felt kind of dead. But yeah, I'm excited.
Just to add on to that, it definitely, at least from what I saw, and from what I've heard other people say too. So I agree with that. It feels like a mix between the Arkham universe and the Nolan movies. Like that's kind of what it felt like for me. Specifically, more leaning towards like uh the Arkham universe, just because I feel like, and honestly, this may be an unpopular opinion. I don't know. I feel like that's the best depiction of like Batman, in my
Definitely
opinion.
not an unpopular
Yeah,
opinion
yeah, it's
because
not.
Okay,
It's not
all
unpopular.
right. Yeah, I just want to.
it is a very the Arkham series literally rips Batman from the comic book pages and the animated series.
It's
It's
amazing.
definitive Batman.
It's amazing, and I think any uh any piece of Batman that's gonna reminisce like that at all and uses that as like some sort of source material in a way. I
Yeah,
know it's like,
foundation.
yeah, like I think that's a great start. Like you can, like Shawn was saying, you can definitely feel like that. Everything feels like big. Like in the trailers, like every shot felt like it was like important, because like sometimes in trailers you get like little throwaway shots or little just like cool stuff, that'll get you excited. But this was like, okay, like this is something more than just, okay, we're getting another Batman movie. Batman's gonna ride around in the Batmobile and just punch people. It's like Robert Pattinson is obviously uh, trying to embody a more like emotional, like you said, Adrian, a more emotional and a more uh, green Batman. Because obviously, like let's think about just the emotional makeup of Batman. His parents were killed when he was super young. He's a billionaire with a bunch of personal issues. Like there, at some point, I feel like it was gonna have to give that we would need someone to play like at like Batman actually like from an emotional standpoint, and I think that's gonna touch on it a lot. Because you can only do so many like playboy billionaire James Bond sort of Batmans, and I feel like we've gotten that a little bit too much. So yeah, man, I think Gotham felt like super gritty. I was like, whoa, this feels like really dark. I was like, whoa, man.
That's good. That's what we need.
Feels
We
good.
need a we need a city that feels like it's sweating with like criminals and like darkness, polluted and like at any moment you're gonna suffer something terrible because that's the whole point. Also, the fact that if it feels a little unrealistic, even because from my understanding, this is not supposed to be like what the Nolan movies did, where it's like very realistic. Like this is
Yeah,
how we actually shot like New York and Chicago. This is supposed to be from Bruce Wayne's point of view. So if you see the lighting is like really dark, if you see like it's always raining and like the architecture's gothic as the
yeah,
name implies, it's like this is from his point of view. There's life to it from his point of view. Because maybe at daytime everyone sees Gotham as like New York or whatnot.
but
Gotham
at
is
night,
New York.
yeah,
But at night is like this is what Bruce Wayne sees. This is the colors he sees. These are the emotions he's seeing. And as you said, like the scenes, the like every scene is like, I guess what you said, Sean. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but like the funeral scene isn't just an action scene. It's like it's a scene. There's a setup. There's like tension. There's a payoff. There's cinematography. There's shots. Coloring, practical effects, whatnot, music. It's all drawn out. You know, and yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is definitely a movie that's different in today's movie standards. It's not connected to the larger DC movie universe, which it's on its own,
Yeah.
which is very interesting. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
I feel like they kind of handicap themselves with this because if this blows up the way it could, you're looking at a new Batman that could rep the face of DC. And also, you see, uh, what's his name? The other Batman that just played
Ben Affleck.
Affleck.
Ben Affleck.
He's done. Like he's done playing Batman. So they're gonna have to find somebody, and you might as well just use Robert Patterson. But then again, like I feel like the DC universe is messed up, man. Like like you see how Marvel did it. They took their time. They did this movie, then they put this together, and they worked themselves. It feels like DC kind of just rushed it. Like they just rushed everything. Oh, we're gonna give you this, this, this. We're gonna give you Justice League, like, and nothing feels the way it should. So I have no idea what DC is gonna do. DC just shoots themselves in the foot every time they get an opportunity. So yeah, the closest thing we had to a really good DC was probably the Snyderverse, and yeah, Snyder is not even directing any more of the movies. So
DC is a mess with their movies recently. I don't know if you agree, Alex.
I do agree that DC is, for lack of a better term, they're a clusterfuck right now. To be honest, right? Like let's just call it how it is. From switching directors in the middle of filming Justice League and releasing Aquaman, Batman v Superman. I don't even want to talk about any of those movies, man. But just you guys get the gist, right? That it feels like they're trying to do what Marvel spent like 30 years doing. It took them a long time to plan out all these phases and stuff like that. They're trying to do it in like 5 years. Because maybe they feel like they're falling behind and they really have to get themselves back in the game. But as we know it, it only takes one, and maybe this could be the one. Maybe this could be the one, like Shawn said, that puts them back in the game, and they're like, okay, this is the movie that's gonna set us off. So now let's follow that same formula and keep going. I think DC should take more of like the artistic route with superhero movies, right? I know you agree with me, Adrian. I think that's I think that's the hole in the market that they can fill up like very well. Like Batman, in my opinion, for superhero movies, he's like the critical darling of superhero movies.
Yes.
At least from the Nolan, movies and stuff like that they were so critically acclaimed. Like that reputation's already going for Batman, right? So why not do it and explore the grittier side of superheroes, the more realistic side of superheroes instead of giving what Marvel already does and which they already do so well.
Like as you mentioned, Batman is definitely more critical. I mean, you're not gonna get a popcorn film with Batman, or at least that's not what's expected. It's not like Shazam, which even though Shazam was a fun movie, it's at the end of the day, it's like a popcorn film. It's not gonna truly explore these very big thematic themes that Batman does. Like the Dark Knight has done. It's why Batman goes beyond just being a superhero. Some people don't even like superheroes, but they still watch Batman. They're like, okay, but he's the only one who's like human, and I can kind of believe in this story because there's no superpowers. It's just honestly, it's a guy in a suit, and that's all I need to believe in. But something that I would say, like, in terms of formulas and like whatnot, DC wants to obviously compete with Marvel. Warner Brothers wants to compete with Disney, so that's why they try to set up their universe. But unlike Disney and Marvel, they're all over the place. One moment they're making Justice League with a bunch of characters that we haven't been introduced. Unlike Marvel, who set up every character one by one. It's crazy, and I think that DC is starting to kind of see maybe the direction they do need to go because they released Joker. Joker was not at all correlated at all. Yeah, it was a great movie, and it made over $1 billion, rated R. It was not at all correlated to the DC expanded universe or whatnot. It was just on its own. It had its own themes. It focused on being its own film. It did not try to be anything more than that. And it looks like this movie is trying to go in the same direction after the problems that I know the history of how this movie was decided on, which I can get into a little bit later. But when they did settle into making this movie, it's like, you know what, we're gonna kind of capture that Joker feel again, where we're making our own movie. This is just a Batman movie. And I think that now that they see Joker worked and Batman worked, it's like, okay, maybe we should focus on independent, self-contained films that work on their own rather than making this massive cinematic event that's going to demand millions of dollars of CGI. And, we need it to be a big cinematic event to make revenue out of it. Maybe we could just make a smaller scale film that if it makes enough money, we're looking at good numbers and we can probably get our own identity, especially because at the end of the day, you're competing with Marvel and Marvel seems to be doing the advantage. You might as well lead yourself more onto the advantage of what about the smaller scale, more mature stories that DC's offering.
Like critically acclaimed, I think, is more the route they should go. Like Marvel movies, like they are loved by critics. I mean, for the most part, these past two Avengers movies did pretty good with critics, but I think, but is Batman just an outlier though? Like, can you touch into deeper stories with other superheroes, or is Batman just an outlier in that aspect that he can really like make a movie more than just like superhero fighting crime? Like I'm just playing devil's advocate here, because I know, like I think that you can, but just to ask the question.
I want Shawn to kind of like bring it up. Like, what do you think? Like, can you name a few that you think fit that role?
I think they could do both. Like, honestly, you have to look at where Marvel is right now. They don't have Iron Man anymore. You don't have Cap. Like, this is a down, like, this should be a down period for Marvel. Like, this should have been the point in time where DC said, we're going to attack, and this is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to set this up, this up, this up, this up. They could have a universe if they really wanted to. There's an audience out there that wants to see a darker superhero. Like, they want to see darker superheroes. So yeah, like, I feel like they could make a universe out of this. Like, even if it is darker. I don't know what they're going to do with this, because even with the Joker, they're making another Joker movie eventually.
Really?
They didn't know if they were going to, but it did so well that they want to. So if they're going to do that, and you have Robert Pattinson's Batman, I feel like there's such a market, man. Like everybody wanted to see a dark Civil War with Marvel. We got that to an extent, but with Batman and the contingency plans that he has for each superhero, like how amazing this could really get and how dark this could really get. I don't know if y'all saw Injustice, the movie, or played the game.
No, yeah, I did. I love
that. Like, there's such an audience for that. Like, real fans want to see stuff like that versus, oh, everybody's good. Like, like, Marvel's cool, but everybody really knows that DC is darker. Like, it has a more adult feel to it. So adults could get into it more. You know what I'm saying? And they're the ones that really go and see these movies. So yeah, man, like, and if they wanted to have a universe, I feel like if you build up the characters correct, I feel like you could do it. I feel like since now you have like a Joker, but he's like a younger Joker. And I think Batman or Bruce Wayne in the film is really, really young. I don't know if you could like use that Joker for this Batman, but I don't know, man. I just feel like there needs to be planning. And I don't think that's what DC does. I think they kind of go off.
They just shoot the gun. They just jump out at it. They're like,
yep.
We'll see what works. We see what doesn't.
Exactly. So
if it makes money, it makes money.
We'll see what happens, man. But I have high hopes for what DC can really do. But they may have to blow up what they have to restart this. And I don't know how long that's going to take, because I don't know if they can greenlight just, saying, okay, the Justice League that we had is over, when you have some movies that are still kind of popular, like Wonder Woman is popular. So I don't think that you can like throw away her character. You see what I'm saying? So like,
especially with the fans that she has, she made a following.
Exactly, and she's a really good Wonder Woman. So I mean, can you throw away a universe and start a new one with the same Wonder Woman and like a new Batman? And I don't know, man. You could have Green Arrow. Like, there's so many great characters, man.
They have a
like,
great stable of characters, bro. DC has like, oh my god.
Honestly, I think that in terms of like comic book characters, I feel like you have better depth with your characters.
Oh yeah.
So if they really wanted to take advantage, this would be the time. But I feel like even if you're planning right now, you're like 5-10 years too late because production for half of these movies should have started. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
we'll see, man. But yeah, I don't know if I answered your question, but that's my roundup of everything.
No, that you did, because at the end there, yeah, you said that the depth, like, well, we'll just call it, like their roster, like, is deep. Like they have a lot of different superheroes that can touch on a lot of different topics and a lot of different themes. It's I don't know, man. DC is like, it's like that friend that has so much potential, but they just make a bunch of stupid decisions. You're just like, dude, like, what are you doing? Like, I don't know, man. Like the guy, he could have went to the NBA, but instead he's working at McDonald's now. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
come on, and just with the Justice League alone, like, you can already make so many great movies just based off of them. But like you said, it's up to the planning, and it's up to the board of directors, and it's up to all that stuff. But it's just too slow, man. Like, you're already years behind. Marvel is already, what is it, phase 4, phase 5 already?
Phase 4.
Come on, bro. Like, this should have been
Like,
done.
you don't have to catch up to them though. Like, you can just pace yourself, but like you have to start somewhere. Like, you can't just
DC would have to play the long game for sure, 100%. They would have to, like, but that's the thing. To play the long game, you have to plan, and as we've seen, they don't plan. Like, I don't know, man. It's just really frustrating. I just hope this movie, because look, Joker was already a great sign. Box office smash. That was a hit. That was a great movie. It was a hit. Critics liked it. Everyone liked it. So that should be a sign for them to say, okay, there's something here with this sort of film that we're making. So how do we expound upon that? And then they go from there. But like you said, Shawn, you had mentioned it before, they could also, if this movie does good, it also going to shoot themselves in the foot, because then what are they going to do about, this whole expanding universe, situation? Because I feel like now to compete with Marvel, they'd kind of have to do that if they want to compete with Marvel. How they do it, that's up to them. But I don't know, man. It's just really interesting to see however they're gonna pull this off. But let's just start with hoping that this movie is a good movie.
So I'm gonna come in a little hot right here because I agree with a lot of points, but I also disagree with some other ones too. I don't think that making a big universe again or expanding on it is probably the way to go. I feel that containing it might be better right now. For now, I think DC needs to maybe stop expanding and be like, you know what if we just focus on just Batman for now with these movies, and then, like, maybe from my understanding, Henry Cavill's not playing Superman either anymore, so give it a few years and then be like, you know what, we'll try him again, but this time we're going to try, like, just Superman. We're not going to anticipate that Batman's going to see Superman. We're not going to anticipate Wonder Woman's going to see Superman. We're like, let's just make a good Superman film. And I don't know, I feel like that's why DC was kind of working back then, and Marvel was kind of finding a place to stay. And then Marvel's now sticking really hard with their formula, and DC's trying to do what Marvel does, and it ain't working. It could have worked, as I agree with both of you, if they planned it out and everything, but it ain't working because they didn't plan it out. So I think they have to make their losses, and they have to just accept that DC as an expanded universe is too messy right now. It's too messy.
Yeah.
So sorry, Adrian, just to interject really quick. So do you agree with Shawn then in that they should kind of maybe just blow up the universe that they have before, act like it never existed, and use this as like ground zero? Like, okay, let's plant this seed.
The Flashpoint movie's coming out now. That Flashpoint movie is supposedly multiversal. It's gonna be those kind of movies.
Yeah.
We're looking at Michael Keaton's Batman coming back for that, so they're trying to jump off of Spider-Verse. You see, that's the thing. It's like everything that Marvel does is like DC has to do something about it. Like, when when Civil War was coming out in 2016, they released Batman v Superman, and then Avengers after a while is like, well, we're gonna put Justice League, or like, it's like for every movie that's coming out, it's like they need to compete. The only movie that felt freshly new was the Joker movie. It was like, you know what, this was different. Now, Joker to some people is a fantastic movie. For other people, it was a decent watch. But I think most people agreed, like, you know what, this is a very good risk that DC took, and I think that they should keep doing that. And I'm looking at this Batman film, and I kind of like, I guess to answer your question is like, you know, this whole expanded universe just wasn't really working out. It's made money, it's made fans, but other than a select few films, we have a lot of losses in this expanded universe, and
Sure.
it eats up money. Yeah, yeah. Look at Shawn. Look, we have Wonder Woman, we have the Snyder Cut, but even the Snyder Cut went through the Joss Whedon cut first, and we had the original Suicide Squad and whatnot, and even Batman v Superman was a very messy movie. We're looking at a lot of messy movies under this belt, and Marvel's just hit after hit. Maybe a few missteps by Marvel, but even their missteps, they still make money.
Yeah.
I'm telling you that, when you look at Joker, that movie made $1 billion, and that movie did not need a lot of CGI or anything. It was actually very cheaply done compared to most movies these days.
Yeah.
That movie is a massive net gain, and I think that that's what this movie's trying to do. This movie's not as considerably expensive or as massive as like Justice League, Snyder Cut, And I think if they really work on just focusing on their characters individually, focusing on just making a proper film with proper cinematography, proper costume design and whatnot, you're looking at a good film. You're looking at general audiences being like, I like this film and I like it, and I don't have to watch 10 films to understand what the heck is going on right now. Leave the big cinematic events to Marvel. They already understand their audience. They got everyone on that boat. DC, if you focus on just making the next Dark Knight or making the next, critical Batman film, you're looking at getting another fan base.
Which both
Is that good enough?
Oh,
Yeah, you can go, Alex.
what I was gonna say is just to interject really quick is those movies, and I was just thinking about it, that they both did great in the box office and critically. So I think that's a hole in the market that they can, fill. Shawn, sorry, I just want to say that really quick.
Do you think that that's like in goal enough? Like when you look at it, Marvel is a money making machine, and DC wants to be that. They want to make money like that if they could. When you have a universe like that, you have to watch all of the films to understand what's happening. So each person is having to watch all of them instead of just one movie or 3 movies. I know they haven't had a good track record of doing it up till now, but do you think that they could, recover? And do you think that it's good enough if they do have good movies? Because I do think this movie could be good. Do I think it's going to be as good as the Christopher Nolan ones?
It's tough.
It's Christopher Nolan, but so yeah, like, do you try to go after that kind of a movie? Because when you look at even Marvel's movies, even the first 3 Iron Man movies, like they weren't for critics really; they were just for fans.
I would disagree with you.
And they did really good. What'd you say?
I would disagree on the first Iron Man. I would agree with you that on Iron Man 2 and 3, it was trying to be more on like, okay, this is more of the Marvel movies scenario.
Yeah.
But I would disagree with the first Iron Man. I'm gonna let you finish though before I expand on that.
No, you can go.
Oh, okay, well,
This is good. We're potting right now.
we're
Potting
we're definitely.
Yeah, this is it. Today.
We have to remember that the Marvel Cinematic Universe began with the first Iron Man, but there was nothing to jump off of there. So I still look back at the first Iron Man. I'm like, this is ridiculously different from what we have now, because it just tried to be a good Iron Man film, and it succeeded on that. It didn't try to make like, okay, here's Iron Man, and by the way, Thor and Captain America and like Spider-Man is in the same universe. No, it was like, here's Tony Stark. It actually kind of connected, especially 2008, with the Afghan War, which was a massive political statement at that time. Marvel has never tried to attempt to do something like that ever again. It was a little bit dark in terms of like, oh yeah, like my weapons are killing people and I'm making money off of this. Like, man, this movie is very mature. And then you introduce obviously the superhero aspect. He makes a suit of armor, but to a degree, not obviously realistic, but I was like, oh, you know what, this is kind of believable. Like, I can imagine if a guy was this rich, he would make a suit of armor and try to redeem himself. Now Iron Man has like nanotech and like things that are so sci-fi that it's ridiculous. And obviously, the whole Infinity War and space battles. But you look back at Iron Man 1 and you're like, this just tried to be a good Iron Man film. And the post-credit scene, they left Nick Fury because they're like, if this movie was good, let's just see what happens. And it worked. And then you look at the Hulk movie afterwards. It tried to be a Hulk movie, the Captain America movie, the Thor movie. It tried to be its own thing. And it was after each of them worked on their own that they're like, what if we just put them all together? And that's when that's where we are now. So I look at the way, I guess to expand this a little bit bigger, and you guys please interject if you feel this way, like at any point. I feel like this is more of like, why should every movie industry try to make a cinematic universe of like multiple movies have to connect? It's a little too much. The only one that succeeded is Marvel. DC's trying to do it. I believe not just DC, but like they tried to do a monster verse with Godzilla and King Kong, and there was another monster verse with like they were trying to redo the Mummy. That didn't work out. There's just so many verses, and it's like, what happened to just making a movie? Just making a movie. Like here's a movie with a good story, and like hey, we just get a good director. We get all these actors from who knows where. Just make a good movie. It's like no one's trying to do that anymore. It's like we got to compete with Marvel. Everyone has to compete with Marvel.
Yeah, it's a machine.
Yeah, I mean,
but yeah, like, bro.
Just wanted to say really quick, why should they make a cinematic universe? They shouldn't. Why are they? Because
the money.
Exactly, So I think that kind of, I feel like that kind of answers that. This whole arm race for like universes and stuff is just so crazy to me. But we could talk about that later. Shawn, go ahead.
I just look at like the highest potential, and when I look at the highest potential for like a DC, I think it's a universe, man. Like, if I'm completely honest with y'all, I don't think that each one has to like allude to another one. I feel like they should be great movies and separate. You know what I'm saying? Like how the Iron Man one was. But I still think that long term, like 10 years past, the first movie, I would like to see a universe, man. Like it's almost like a fucking orgasm, bro. Like you want to, you know what I'm saying? Like you want it to eventually lead to something. You don't just want to, like go for, for no reason. but yeah, man, like, so like I understand like how you want it to be really good, and I want them to be good too. Because when you look at like the first Iron Man movie, man, like it was so revolutionary, and it had a great story. And I feel like Batman is a good enough character to spark that. But I feel like if you just say, okay, all of these Batman movies are going to be standalones, like let's say you have a Christopher Nolan movie, right? Or 3 Christopher Nolan movies. Once you get to the end, like you just have to allude to things happening in the future rather than like actually being able to see a Robin or a Batwoman or, the Flash. I just feel like at its highest potential, if there was planning, it could be just as good as Marvel. It just has to understand where it is and not try to rush everything so fast. Like if it just takes its time and makes good movies for each character without alluding to, okay, this is going to eventually lead to something else. Like you don't have to do that with every movie, but just slowly building up the characters, I just feel like at its highest potential, that's what it could be. But yeah, I do understand because the Christopher Nolan movies, man, oh my gosh. Like you can watch them today. They are solid, good movies, every single one of them.
They're great movies.
So yeah.
I would say, putting more thought into your comments, Shawn, like at the end of the day, for DC to make the highest profit, and you're right, like on a business standpoint, they got to go into the big universe. I think that if they want to capture lightning in a bottle again, because they've done it, they have to repeat what I consider is the DCAU. I don't know if you guys know the DC animated universe. Alex, you mentioned.
Yes.
The DC animated universe began purely with just Batman the animated universe. It was not trying to be anything more. It was just trying to get Batman from the comics and represent him completely into animated fashion. And this is due to the success of the Tim Burton film that came out at the time, which was a great movie. So when Batman started becoming a household name, they're like, let's profit off of this. Let's put Batman into a TV show. But they also said, let's not do Tim Burton's Batman though. Let's do like the character. Let's like bring the character from comic books into the TV. And that lasted for about several years. And then they did Batman Beyond, which you mentioned, Alex, which was like, oh, what if he was in the future, like a successor. And then they also did Superman, the animated series, because that was like their other flagship character, it was like Batman and Superman are the two big names in DC. And then with Superman, the animated universe, they decided, you know what, since they're from the same comic books, what if we do what we did in the comics, where like Batman and Superman interact? Let's show they're in the same universe. So they have Batman and Superman have fight like Lex Luthor or Joker together. And then they did the Justice League show. And all of a sudden you have Wonder Woman and Martian Manhunter and Green Lantern and Flash. And then they did Justice League Unlimited, which is where they're like, let's just go crazy with DC. And when you think about it, it's like that's what Marvel did. They started with Iron Man, then they had Hulk and Thor and Captain America. And then slowly they were like, okay, here's Avengers. And then they're like, you know what, let's just start shoving in, here's Falcon, War Machine, Wanda, all these villains, Thanos. Is like, it's like, because once you set up the core of it, anything can happen. There's the Guardians of the Galaxy here now. Here's Spider-Man. He came out of nowhere now. Even to the point where now we're into the point where it's like, oh, you remember the other two Spider-Men? They're in the same universe now all of a sudden. It's like, but it's because it was established. Like, okay, this universe is so big now, so crazy. It's like, let's just do it. And now it's like, oh, with the new Doctor Strange movie, it's like, oh, guess what? Now the X-Men might be coming back. The X-Men you grew up with? Like, oh, man, they might be coming back. I think DC never really set that foundation. It's like, it's too insane that it's like, who are all these characters? Who are all these things? For general audiences, not for fans. You notice fans love the DCEU, but the general audiences don't, because they're like, who the heck is Martian Manhunter? Who the heck is Green Lantern? Who the heck is the Flash? Like, the only character I know is Superman, because Superman is that popular, and I know about Batman because of he's that popular, but I don't know anybody else. I don't know why I should care about this villain. I don't know why I should care about this big CGI fight. Yeah. I think that they really have to slow down and do like what I'm trying to say is focus on film by film, little by little. These Pattinson films, the Robert Pattinson film, the Matt Reeves films, it's supposed to be a trilogy. I think they agreed that they wanted it to be a trilogy. And I'm telling you right now, this should be a trilogy that, in my opinion, and you could ask me more on this later, it should not include Joker at all. No Joker.
Yeah.
It should not include Superman. It should not reference anything DC. It should be just Batman exclusive content. Like how the Arkham games did it. The Arkham, it was a trilogy of just Batman content. And then after that, if you want to be like, okay, now that Robert Pattinson played his part, let's change actors now to a older Batman that looks like Robert Pattinson, but it's the same guy maybe. And then you could pull like, guess what? Now he finally met Superman. Yeah. Or if you wanted to go that direction. If not, you could just say, here's another satisfying trilogy of Batman. And now that it's been like, what, 6 years, we're going to try the whole universe thing again. Now that everyone's satisfied with these characters.
And by that point in time, DC, or not even DC, but Marvel should have calmed down, bro. Because eventually, we all know this. Eventually, they're going to run out of content. Like, it's sad, but they're going to slow down eventually. Like, they just they can't do this forever. So if they pick their moments and really plan, I do agree with your vision. I do think that they can do it. But they need somebody like you, man. Like
Exactly.
they need
Yeah, for
somebody
real.
to tell them what to do,
They
man,
need
instead of
the
just
House of Reels podcast.
They need to
We
invite
should
us.
be the board of directors for DC. Us three right here. We should, because we obviously know what's best for the company. Okay,
Mhm.
better than these assholes over there. You know, it's pisses me off. But
Bunch of
whatever.
old farts, telling us what to do
Yeah,
and what to
man.
do.
They probably don't even know the first thing about any of these superheroes. But
No, they don't. If they did, they'd respect the characters more.
I do agree with you, Adrian. That's probably the best course of action because it only makes sense to emulate the most successful entities that you've had, which is all those that you listed. So why go against that?
Yeah.
But I look at this movie and I'm excited for so many reasons, but partially as we were discussing, this is a very different take on just the current movie standards. We're looking, what I feel is like this is gonna be, even if it's not like Dark Knight level of fantastic, this is like, okay, this is a Batman film for Batman fans, and anybody is invited to see this, and we're really gonna explore the character for who the character is, what he's known for, and appreciate that. And nothing more. Doesn't need to be anything more. Batman is that big that I think it's big enough to do that.
Yeah,
Excited for that.
yeah.
Do you think they messed up?
Yeah, go ahead, Shawn.
Do you think they messed up with not having like an origin? Because I'm not gonna lie to you, man. Like, bro,
say your
I feel
piece.
like
Say your
that's when you look at Iron Man, when you look at Captain America. Yes, us as fans, we understand everything, so we don't really need to see an origin story. But I feel like that kind of caps off a little bit of how much you can identify with the character. So like even when you saw the last Batman with Ben Affleck, or you know who I'm talking about, bro, like I didn't connect with him. Like I knew it was Batman. Like you're cool, like you're an old version of Batman, but I didn't see you do anything, and now you're fighting Superman. Like I just feel like if they have like an origin with the character that's playing Batman instead of maybe like a child actor version or something like that, or a young adult version, I feel like that kind of solidifies a character more instead of just saying, okay, you're Batman. Like, here's your first villain. Go fight him, per se. But yeah, that's just me, man. I don't know. Maybe I'm out of touch with it.
When you say the origin, do you mean like in general, or do you mean for this Batman? Because this Batman is not going to go through his origin; it's going to go through its own contained story. Like what?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, I know that he's not going to have an origin. What I'm saying is, like, do you think that's a misstep? Do you think that I know, like, because even when you look at Christopher Nolan, like, he had an origin story, like
the Batman Begins. That was his origin.
Exactly. Like, do you think that they're maybe skipping something that maybe they could have, touched up on a little bit?
I wouldn't say they are, because Batman has that kind of trifecta of I put Batman with the trio of what I think is, for most people, undeniably the three most popular superheroes, which is Batman, Superman, and Spider-Man. Those characters' origins are so ingrained into pop culture that it's like you can, but you don't need to. You don't need to show people how Batman became Batman. We know, we've seen it. I have no idea how many times of his parents getting gunned down. I have no idea how many actors have played Batman's parents and have to pretend to be shot down, and we had to get a kid crying. We get it. We know that Batman's parents died when he was a kid, and we also get it. That vengeance has sprouted his training and his determination to be Batman. We know that. It's the same thing with like Spider-Man. We know about Uncle Ben. We know about him getting bitten. We know, and the same thing with Superman. We know he was in Krypton and his planet blew up, and they sent him over to Earth and with the Clark Kent family. Batman is one of those three characters, and I feel that if you look at Spider-Man: Homecoming in the new trilogy, they didn't go through the whole Uncle Ben, biting his hand thing again. They were like, no, you guys know You guys know how he became Spider-Man. Like, no, let's talk about his first real experience as Spider-Man, as a character. Like, and I think that's what this movie is doing. I think that's my take on this. It's like
Mhm.
he's been Batman for over a year, but he's only been fighting petty criminals. Now he's finally going against someone his level, the Riddler. He's finally going against a Batman villain, and not only that, he's meeting Catwoman. He's finally gonna meet a romantic partner who's on his level, not in a Bruce Wayne level where it's like, oh, it's just a hot girl and I'm a playboy. No, it's like, no, wait, this is a character who she understands my lifestyle. She goes out there at night at Gotham and like doing all these crazy things. Like, I think she understands me. That it's like, that's the whole point of this movie. I think it's like finally we're gonna see Batman sprout from this experience, like the Batman we know.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what I would say.
I agree with the most part. I just feel like even when we saw Christopher Nolan's Batman, we know that he shouldn't be able to just fight out of nowhere. Like he was trained by Ra's al Ghul, and I feel like that was a big piece of his character. Now we just have to take, we have to guess at how he, learned how to fight. But I mean, that's just me, man. I'm one of those. I want to see everything. So
you liked everything explained?
Yeah, I do like seeing everything. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, guys, listen, don't take that the wrong way. That sounds kind of fucking awful, but yeah, I do. So we'll see what happens, man. Like even with like the Spider-Man, I don't feel like I really attached to his character until maybe the newest one that came out. Like his character, it was just like, okay, it's Spider-Man now. I'll believe you. If we had an origin story, maybe I'd believe you more, but it's cool. But I'm a sucker for origin movies, man. I don't know if that's just me, but yeah, bro. Yeah,
I agree. With cool origin stories like Batman's, what would be really cool? See, this is why we should be the board of directors at DC. Okay, what about a series about Batman's origins?
A series about Batman's origins, like as
real
training.
What happened?
His training, right?
Exactly. Yes, his training. Because
are you talking about like in a movie form or TV?
What happened?
Are you talking about like movie form or television?
Television.
Okay. Yeah.
Television. Real in-depth, going like maybe episode by episode, because we all know, like Adrian said, Batman's origins. But if you go more in-depth, you can see who he really trained under and for how long. Obviously, he trained under Ra's al Ghul. Then he trained under, his name escapes me, that he trained under some guy, and that's how he learned how to like hunt people down and stuff. Like there's so many different pieces to Batman's origin, but the main gist we get, but there's so many like cool parts that we could dive into and make a series about. But that's just my opinion. I don't know what you guys think. But
it's wild, bro. Like he's the world's greatest detective, but we've never seen how he comes from like, he's a playboy philanthropist, and then he knows how to fight, but they never go into detail about like how he learns all of the stuff, man.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, iconic character, but he's the only human one. Like, Spider-Man's human, but he has power. So it's like, you can be super strong and just like, not really know how to fight. And Superman, like, you're just, I don't know, a fucking train can hit you and you're good. Like, you're fine. But for Batman, it's more personal. So like, you don't know how to do all this stuff automatically just because you put on the cowl and the suit. So
he disciplined himself.
Yeah, I think, but that'd be so interesting to to dive into, like you said, because he is human. So I think it would just be really cool for like, he's human, but how did he get to be Batman?
Maybe like a Joker version of that. Maybe we get that. You never know.
Maybe like. See, there's just so many opportunities that DC is like swinging and missing on. It's kind of crazy. Who knows? Maybe they do that in the future, but I think it'd be pretty cool. But I mean, this Batman movie, I'm excited for it. I'm very excited for it. So
it's definitely something to look forward to.
Yeah,
and it's coming out. It's coming out next week. So let's see. Then we next episode, I think we can definitely talk about it. See, like,
give our
Maybe it's like, oh my gosh, this blew expectations, or you know what, we expected this, or oh my lord, this was the worst thing to ever happen. What the hell happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
From what I've seen, though, I don't think it'll be bad. No, I don't think.
No, it doesn't look bad, but you
Hey.
never know. There's a lot of things that are really hyped up, and then it's like, oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys, we have to go in expecting the worst, bro. Okay, just go in
Yeah.
expecting the worst, and then you won't be disappointed.
No, glass half full. Come on.
Exactly.
Kind of what
Yeah.
MJ said in in the Spider-Man No Way Home.
Keep your expectations low, and you'll never be disappointed.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And think about it. Look, okay, if we're talking just pure pure numbers here, okay? The Nolan movie was probably one of the best movies ever made. Aside from being a superhero movie, it's like it's not really high on that list, but it's on that list, like at least in my opinion, right?
In terms of
If it can
superhero movies, I'd say it's up there. It's definitely up there.
If it can get even somewhat close to that, I think that's a W for
That's
DC.
success. Yeah.
That's a W for DC. So let's see. Set your expectations low, and you'll never be disappointed, man. All right.
Yeah. You want to wrap it up there?
And also, just to inform the audience, episode won't be coming out next week because we're on spring break. We're going to be enjoying spring break. So yeah, next episode will be coming out next Tuesday. Right? No, not next Tuesday.
The week after that.
Yes, there you go. Yep, the week after. So yeah, just want to let them know.
Yeah, guys, set your expectations low, and
you'll never be disappointed. Hey, come on, there you go.
Sounds good.
That's our motto here at the House of Reels, baby. Come on, man.
Oh yeah, that's the perfect one.
But
yeah, Adrian, you want to end it?
No, just there is definitely still anticipation. Yeah, don't put your expectations too high. Hopefully, if anybody's watching the movie, we can meet up again and let's just commentate. Let's see how big this movie is. What if it's just a normal movie, or if it's gonna have a legacy like The Dark Knight?
Yeah.
We'll find out very soon. Very soon.
Yeah. All right. Well, for me, I don't really have anything. My closing thoughts. I hope this movie's good. That's it. That's all I gotta say. Also, House of Reels, we're gonna do an illegal streaming of the movie. We're actually gonna take our camera and illegally stream the movie. If you
We're not doing that. We're not doing that.
Yeah, we're not doing that. But yeah, man, hope the movie's good. So
yeah, guys. We'll see you in a couple weeks. So yeah. All right, guys.
Sounds good.
See you guys later.